This episode of Derby Profile was suggested by DJ Kent. He also suggested the episode on Mage, which I forgot to give him credit for. I apologize. Hope this makes it up to you. Now, onto the video. Another day, another Derby Profile. Today's episode is going to be on Derma Sotogake. Let's go. First things first, we got the stats. Derma Sotogake is one of the most raced horses in this Kentucky Derby field, currently with 8 career starts, winning half of them exactly, and 2 third-place finishes, and earnings exceeding over $1 million. Pretty impressive to say the least. How he was able to earn so much money with that many starts mainly has to do with his major Derby prep, the win in the UAE Derby, which got him 100 points and nearly $750,000 in prize money. It was also aided by his third-place finish in the Saudi Derby just a month before, and also all the races he ran in as a 2-year-old in Japan. Harkening back to our previous episode on King's Barnes, I feel like Derma Sotogake falls into a similar category. If you just look at his major Derby race, he does look like a frontrunner, but it's not very accurate to say that, especially if you look at his other races. For one, his other international race, the Saudi Derby, he did come from off the pace, and that's more of what he did back in Japan, especially with his biggest career victories. He always stalked, or was even mid-pack at maximum, and then would fly late, usually on the outside, or if he had to in between horses. So, in short, a good turn of foot. Not an amazing turn of foot, but still pretty good and would get the job done. The UAE Derby was definitely a product of the racetrack. Meydan that day was kinda all or nothing. Either the horses were very stationary throughout, or something crazy would happen, like with Ushbatasoro coming from dead last. So, for Derma's case, it was very much just an easy merry-go-round, and he took advantage of it. Unlike King's Barnes, though, it wasn't due to a lack of pace, as Derma was able to quite easily run near track record time, so he definitely has a lot more speed. And that transitions nicely into the strengths of Derma Sotogake. First off, it's pretty easy to note that Derma Sotogake is at least semi-versatile, winning on and off the lead. And when he's on the lead, he can actually set pretty fast fractions and still keep it up, which is definitely something to keep in mind. So he could definitely go up and challenge the leaders, although that was to the detriment of Crown Pride last year, or he can come off the pace and have a nice turn of foot. But that's probably the least of my concerns when it comes to his strengths. One thing I really like about him is that comparing him to other foreign contenders in the Kentucky Derby, he has managed to outdo most of them. He beat Continuar twice. First, back in Japan, and then of course in the UAE Derby, but also, he does have a slight edge over Mandarin Hero, who of course, yesterday, ran in the Santa Anita Derby and lost by a nose to practical move. Now Mandarin Hero is interesting. He has only lost to one other horse in his career, and that was back in Japan, where a horse named Hero Call defeated him. Hero Call was defeated by Derma Sotogake, so is it a little bit of a stretch? Maybe, depending on how you look at it, but it's something good to keep in mind. If Mandarin Hero can come within a nose of winning a Grade 1 in America, and a horse that beat Mandarin Hero was defeated by Derma Sotogake, that's a pretty good sign that he might be seriously metal going into this Kentucky Derby. But then we get on to the weaknesses. Now, of course, Derma's going to have to worry about, getting used to the Churchill Downs surface and all that other jazz that has to come with international racing, and the bad history of the UAE Derby, but also when I look at his races, he hasn't really had to overcome a lot. It's hard to really put it into words, but Derma Sotogake isn't very battle-tested. I know that's very weird when we're talking about a horse who is tied for the most starts before the Kentucky Derby, but if we actually look into the contents of his 4 victories, they've been very straightforward and simple. He is stalked, he made one good move, and he just came out on top. Or in the UAE Derby, he just went to the lead and he was able to stay there. Not exactly much in the say of trials and tribulations, but we'll see how much this semi-intangible quality affects him on Derby Day. Overall, I'll say that Derma Sotogake is probably the star pupil among the foreign Kentucky Derby contenders, and I am very excited to see what he has to offer. For that, I will give him a B+ grade. Hope you guys enjoyed this episode of Derby Profile. Comment down which horses I should cover soon. Hopefully, we'll see Mandarin Hero slide into those starting gates, even though he currently is not within the top 20. See you guys next time.